Day 15 at training camp. Apparently, Penning struggles at right tackle is continuing. We'll talk about the practice reports, the injury report, and what DA had to say. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. Look, I don't want to be the guy that keeps banging on Trevor Penning. And I know I'm not the only guy that's really starting to bang on Trevor Penning. But, you know, going through the practice reports today, and there's a lot of things we could talk about, but it just kind of sucks that you get to Matthew Paris talking about what happened on one-on-ones and reading that Trevor Penning was thrown to the ground by Isaiah Foskey, and then Nico Lalos beat him on an inside move. Now, look, nothing against Foskey or Lalos. Um, they both seem to be pretty good football players, but Trevor Penning's going to be going up against a lot better edge players than that over the course of a 17-game season. My patience is wearing out. But my question is the Saints' patience going to wear out? What's the solution? Do they have one? Is somebody on the roster? I don't see it. I don't hear anything about it. Kind of sounds like we're very weak at tackle. It was a suspect position, but more and more, it's looking like they did not do enough this offseason to solve that problem. Um, I got a little exasperated when I saw they did make a roster move again today. Um, yeah, Xander Horvath, making sure I was getting the right fullback, but they cut one of their fullbacks loose. They were carrying two. All intents and purposes, they were carrying three because Taysom was going to see some action on fullback. So Horvath gets cut, but they bring cornerback. They bring in cornerback Caleb Ford DeMint. I don't know much about the guy. Maybe he's a good football player. I do not know, but I do know that cornerback is not exactly a need on this team. Um, Forget about the top guys we got. Rico Payton, a couple of other guys played really well in practice, have played really well in practice, looked pretty good against Arizona down there in that back end. What are we doing here? Um, if if I don't start reading and hearing and seeing something about Penning starting to win some one-on-ones, holding down that job, I'm exasperated questioning on what in the hell is going on right now. It makes zero sense that some type of move, you know, isn't forthcoming soon, like immediately, like today, tomorrow. Going, look, Penning's running out of time. I mean, yeah, he's been given every opportunity. He's running out of time. And when that time runs out, what are you going to do? Because I don't see another option on the Saints right now. I kind of looked at free agency. I don't know if there's a lot there, but at some point you've got to start knocking on the door if you're the Saints and kicking over cans and trying to figure something out. Um, Getting beat today by our two of our really a two and a three as far as our edge players go. I mean, if I read this and it was Chase Young and Carl Granderson, I'd still be pretty pissed. But well, they're two really one elite, one likely going to be an elite edge rusher. So okay, whatever. But this keeps happening over and over. And now your twos and threes are starting to beat up on them a little bit. Duke Manyweather had the tweet Sunday talking about Penning just being a little lost and not trusting his technique. And DA kind of backed it up and said, yeah, we see good things in practice, but it just didn't translate to Saturday night on the field, and it has to. Um, I'm starting to question how many good things you really do see in practice from Penning. At this point, for me to talk up Penning, I think I would just be lying. And the whole point of this channel, this community is just, hey, real talk, real Saints fans. We're not going to lie and BS each other. So I don't know what the Saints are doing here, but I don't know how much longer they can wait. I'm surprised it took this long. They have to address the tackle situation. They better do it soon. Otherwise, this is going to be a very long season and some, not only the fans, but there'll be some coaches and front office people that'll probably feel some wrath and be very sorry that halfway into week 2 preseason games, we're still having this conversation and going asking ourselves, what in the hell is going on at right tackle? Um, Da came out, talked to the media after practice was over. Just so no spoiler here, but just to mention, Penning in the offensive line did not come up once, which I find hard to believe. But I don't know why this conversation needs to be had of waiting so long, and that'll be hopefully the last I bring this up. But a couple players left early. Alvin Kamara with back tightness, A.T. Perry with an ankle. Apparently, Perry walked off under his own power. So hopefully that's nothing severe. Da said that Kamara has dealt with this back tightness before, and he um, I think also left under his own power, just practiced for a little while, and then kind of went to the trainer's tent. So they don't seem to be extremely worried about either one. But again, we've had guys that walked into the trainer's room and we haven't seen them since. So don't know what's going to happen there. But some of the wide receivers, St. Brown, Shaheed, and Means, I believe, all came back again today on a limited basis. So hopefully we'll be getting those guys back soon. DA's talking about today and all the game practices this week because of the Frisco joint practices got canceled. They're just like trying to simulate game like practices. They're going through substitution patterns. The officials are going to be out there again throwing flags on anything they see going on. And the idea is just to simulate game flow as much as possible throughout these practices. And I believe the officials, he said, are going to be there for 3 days. So pretty much the whole week in prep work. So uh, I like to hear that. The 9 penalties we had Saturday going along with the penalty issues we had last year. Hopefully they're working hard to clean this up and eliminate all the little yellow hankies that get on the ground that get us in trouble. Uh, they asked about Alontae Taylor. Apparently, he had a very good practice today. And Da said, "Look, he said I'm really impressed with what Alontae has done this year, and it looks like he's poised to be one of the guys that like a Debo had did last year, that big jump from 2 to 3, where you're really gonna see it all come together and have a fairly elite defender out there." He said on the inside, he's understanding the position is improved vastly, which is good news. They admitted that was part of the problem, and defensive coordinator Joe Woods made a conscientious effort in the offseason to correct that issue, not let it happen again, which is good. We're getting our coaches to do their job and getting a playmaker out there where he's not lost in space, no pun intended, but actually out there making plays. And DA did bring up that's very important because the style of defense they want to play, that nickel corner position on the inside is very, very important. And again, last year, while we said our defense was good, but it just wasn't quite elite, that was another issue where we got gotten a couple times by offenses out of that position. So hopefully that's trending upward in the right direction. And he also mentioned, he said, look, not only on the inside, but we are playing him on the outside, and he's looked just as good there as he ever has, or better. So the versatility said that he's bringing, that's a word that keeps coming around. Looks like on defense, and we'll talk about the interior in a second. Um, Bringing more and more versatility to the defense, which I think on many levels is very important. Something they needed to address. One, it's going to kind of help with your depth. Two, it's going to kind of not make things as easy for the offense to diagnose what's going on when you have players that can do multiple roles and be on the field at the same time, obviously. So I think Taylor is going to be a key cog in this whole idea of trying to get that defense to that tip top, one of the top best of all the 32 defenses in the league, trying to reclaim that position. And it kind of goes along with the second thing they asked. It was specifically about Jordan Howden. How's he looking? Is he, um, you know, leaning towards grabbing that second safety spot? And DA said, look, any of the other safeties that are going to play opposite of Tyrann Mathieu, none of them has jumped out. Said, none of them has just ran out there and said, hey, this is my job. And as DA said, grab the bull by the horns and taken over. So it's still an open competition. And it kind of sounds like he's not um, upset at the level of play they're bringing, but he's disappointed, expecting more because he said, look, it's a position of production. Um, and what he's not seeing is that production. He's not seeing the big plays from those guys fighting for that job. And he's specifically said, I need to see some interceptions. I need to see some PBUs, um, tackles, physical play. And apparently what they're bringing so far, not overly impressing him, where he's to the point where he's looking at one of them and go, okay, you're my guy. This is another one at this point in training camp. I think it's starting to linger a little too long. Time for somebody to step up and take the job. As a quick point, I read yesterday that Justin Simmons went to Atlanta when he left without us bringing him into a deal or anything. I don't know what's happening there. I do know one of their safeties got injured and is looking like he's out for a while. So the topmost guy that we thought we might bring in to help, and I'm still questioning, instead of bringing him in, we might have to bring in another offensive tackle, make that move. But he's still out there, but he's still visiting. We'll see what happens, because if he shows up, then all that problem is solved on who the second safeties are going to be. We know who the top two are. And these other guys who are playing good, but still disappointing to DA, go back to that reserve role, develop it, figure it out. One of you guys ever want to jump up and say, hey, this is my job and take it, then, good. But if not, we've got a second safety if Simmons would happen to show up. The other thing that he talked about on defense and talking about versatility, they mentioned Cam Jordan specifically, but Peyton Turner came into the conversation about the outside guys rushing from the inside. Well, I kind of asked him the difference of that, and he said, look, the inside rush, there's not as much space as the outside, so not as much room to operate. But he said things happen faster. And Cam Jordan spoke to the media, and he pretty much echoed that, saying, look, it's a difference in timing, because on the outside you have a few seconds, but on the inside it's like immediate. There's no extra time. Ball snap, diagnose. You got to go make a play. Never really thought of it that way, but he has a point. And DA said, look, they've used him before in the past in that spot. He said, but it wasn't a lot. But it was key points. They were bringing him in for pass rush. I remember around 2017, 2018, we see, quite a bit of that, but it wasn't, I don't even think it was to the degree that Tano Passing out was doing last year for us. And he said he needs reps. And when Turner's name came up, he basically said the same thing. Look, just need reps so they can get used to it in there and kind of be able to make the adjustment, especially if they're going to be making the adjustment from outside to inside during the course of a game. And he said, specifically, because he was asked, well, is Turner a better pass rusher on the inside than the outside? And he said, he's a good pass rusher on the inside, but he says he does some good things on the outside. It's just, alluding to it's a little different, some different things, but he has abilities in both. But he said, look, the biggest thing about a pass rush in this league is you're trying to get your four best pass rushers on the field on passing downs. That's the goal. Get them into a passing down and then put your four best guys out there. Not necessarily your four best individual guys, but the four guys that together give you the best pass rush, the best chance to go affect the quarterback and get him on the ground. And he said Turner being a versatile rusher definitely, and Cam too for that matter, definitely helps. That you can use them in multiple spots. And he said something that I thought very interesting when they were having this conversation. I remember watching about 2 years ago one of the local radio shows that also has a YouTube channel would have a coach come in and just kind of talk about film and breakdowns and all. before the LSU game. So he was really talking about college football, but it's kind of an offshoot now. College is getting defensively a little closer to what the NFL is. And he said one of the concepts is nowadays is unless you're pretty deep and pretty elite at every position, at times you just can't play everything because if you try to defend everything on every play, you end up defending nothing. And that phrase always, now he would talk specifically about stuff going on in the field, but that phrase always stuck in my head. And DA kind of said a version of that when he was talking about it. He said, look, because he was asked about Cam Jordan being a very good run defender on the edge. Does that come in on the inside on the pass rush in case, like a 3rd and 15 or some type of RPO or draw play that's going to end up being a run? And he said, look, in this league, you can't play the run and pass every down. He said it's impossible. You play one and you react to the other, which kind of I'm thinking along the same lines. If you try to defend everything, you end up defending nothing. And he said that's one of the things that Cam brings. He said you kind of you're playing pass, but you're looking to recognize the signs where it might actually be a run, quick enough, adjust to it so you can, in effect, get out of pass rush mode, get in the run defense mode, and go make the play to stop whatever it is you need to do. And he said that's really what it comes down to is reacting to the clues the offense is given, so you can react the correct way and make the play if they're doing something opposite of what you're trying to defend. The thing that you have to recognize, you have to be able to recognize it and go make the play. I thought that was kind of an interesting and honest take, really, about what goes on in the NFL because I think at this point, offenses are just so elite that I think that the phrase really means if you're trying to do everything, chances are you're going to miss the clues, or you're physically going to make a mistake, or something's going to happen the offense is going to pop on you and make a big play. So defend one, react the other seems to be kind of what DA's talking about, at least along the defensive line in that situation. I also said some interesting things about training camp, and said 2 goals of it: A, getting team ready for the season. Like, okay, good. I hope that works out. And developing young players. But he went into a little specifics that I never really thought of. And he says he's developing young players in a way that they prove to the organization that they should be part of the organization, whether it's making the 53-man roster, grabbing one of the practice squad spots. That the purpose for those guys while they're developing, they're getting their development in training camp is to do something to force the organization to keep them. But never really thought of it that way. That's like, you kind of think that they bring in a group and then they just start evaluating and go, okay, we got to keep this guy, we got to keep this guy. But in the greater scheme of things, it just kind of makes no. You have to force us to keep you. It doesn't matter if we need to carry 5 cornerbacks and 3 on the practice squad, so we got to go find the best 8. It's more of an approach of, well, if none of these guys are the best 8, we're going to keep the good ones, get rid of the rest, and bring in who we have to bring in or make whatever changes we have to make. Maybe as deep down that's something you think but when he specifically says it, and again, I think DA's getting a little better about sending messages through the media. So I think this is another one to the team, to those young guys going, y'all better start doing something to force us to keep you around. So there was that. I thought that was a very interesting take. And he also mentioned one other thing that I never thought of in a million years, but training camp's also an opportunity to coach up the coaches. So kind of went, huh? But he talked about like letting Janako call some plays during the course of a game, or on offensive plays, or Hodges, the linebacker coach, calling some of the defenses during the course of a game. Stuff like that. He said the younger coaches, the assistants, I guess you call them the interns, the special assistants, all those guys, kind of working with them, developing them, but also as the senior coaches, I guess you would call them, the head coach especially, because DA says, I'm evaluating. But all the way through that process, the coach is evaluating each other to make sure the process is working. That and I guess in a weird sort of way that everybody's on board with the process and doing everything correctly. Kind of an organizational self check where everybody, is that checks and balance. I guess maybe even a better way to say it. Where look, everything's getting done the way we need it to get done, and we're not relying on one person or two coaches to fix everything. Everybody's doing their job. We're all on the same page, and at the same time, we're kind of like Frisco has done to train these offensive coordinators that keep coming out and getting jobs, or head coaches that are getting jobs from Kyle Shanahan, training them to be able to take the step up. Because that's how, when your offensive coordinator gets hired to be a head coach and you can bring up like your quarterback coach to be the new OC, that's how you get it done. So um, glad to see there's a little coaching organizational structure. I don't know if that's ever been there before, and this is something else new that's coming over from Frisco or not. But yeah, that's something that definitely should be going on in training camp, because we don't need to be having these conversations and teaching people stuff in the middle of the season when we're trying to win games. Um, a couple quick notes on the injuries besides the guys that left and were sort of coming back. He said Nick Saldiveri, he may not be back in preseason. So this is, again, going back to the offensive line, is starting to sound like just another headache we don't need. And I said I wasn't going to talk about it again, but I'm going to talk about it again. It looks like we need to seriously start bringing some more bodies and better bodies in for the tackle position. Pascal Nefi Sewell, he confirmed, which I think we all pretty much knew, is they will not be ready to go for the season, but there's a chance they may be ready at some point. May start off on the pup and then show up sometime around week 10, but we'll see how that plays out. So being as I want a lot of thumbs up for this video, let me just say, hey, hit the thumbs up if you're as worried as I am that Trevor Penning's about ready to completely fall flat on his face, and we're going to have a horrendous right tackle issue coming up fairly soon, if it isn't already here. Um, I when I read Matthew Paris saying those two guys got the best of Penning in one-on-ones, I think the first time this preseason, I'm kind of hitting an all-time low. So let me know what you think. Drop them down in the comments. I can about imagine what most of the comments are going to be. But hey, sometimes you guys surprise me with some stuff that I didn't see coming, and you make me think about it. So hopefully I'll see some of those. Just reminder: Sunday night live post game. Where I don't know where the sparks are going to fly on that one if our right tackle doesn't get better real soon. So that'll probably be around 10ish or so. Jason and I'll be on live to kind of recap and talk about the game against Frisco. So I'll see you next time. I'm Tim. Peace out. Who dat?